Thanks very much. Let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David, Washington is a community property state, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Melinda Gates gets half of all this, right?
That's right. Community property means property acquired during the marriage. So when they got married, Bill Gates had already created Microsoft and was their largest shareholder. So not all of that money, not all of those shares will be community property. That's a very complicated and complex calculation that has to be done.
And when you look at the divorce petition, what does it say to you? I was struck by one line where she says she's not asking for any support.
That's right. It's pretty clear that they're both going to have more than enough money to survive on, and so she's not asking for any support. But the important thing about the petition is that it's a joint petition, which in Washington State gives you the fast track to getting your divorce. Once you've reached an agreement, you can get your divorce in 90 days.
So, but almost certainly this agreement's been locked up for quite some time, right?
Absolutely. They wouldn't have filed for the divorce. They wouldn't have filed in a joint fashion unless they already had a very complex agreement down on paper and inked.
And what about the impact on the Microsoft stock? I know that the Bezos divorce, they certainly were taking that into consideration as they announced their plans. They wanted to make sure it didn't tank, which would hurt both of them. Expect similar arrangements here?
I'm not so sure. At this point, his stock ownership is about 1% of the company, and he hasn't been involved in Microsoft. What I think is more important is their legacy in the public's eye. They have this foundation, the largest charitable foundation in the world, doing all sorts of wonderful work. I think they're going to be more concerned about how they look and how the work of their foundation looks to the public.
Well, it was so clear they put out a joint statement from the foundation.
Correct. And they've spent almost $2 billion on COVID in the last year. They don't want to be caught arguing over who gets the grand piano in a court battle.
You've dealt with a lot of these cases. What are some of the surprising things that these ultra-rich couples face as they're going through a divorce?
You know, with people who have ultra amounts of money, you can go one of two ways. Either both of the parties can say there's more than enough money and we can split everything easily. On the other hand, they can get down to arguing about who gets to keep this house versus that house, who gets to keep the stock account, the same way a couple who's arguing over a 1981 VW Rabbit and a 401k and a house worth $500,000.
Well, it's not exactly the same. David Glass, thanks very much.